that the system of white power controls our behavior in all of those areas and programs patterns of behavior that will allow us to remain oppressible or powerless and oppressed. Now, I say that one of the things that we have to face, and sometimes it's a difficult reality to face because we have been programmed as a people to, when white people say you don't have this, we say yes, we do too. If they say you don't have families after they saw to it that we didn't have families, and we react, I say blindly by saying yes, we do too. That we have to understand exactly what a family is to know what we have and know what we're trying to move towards or what we need to move towards.
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing argued that white supremacy is rooted in a deep-seated fear of genetic annihilation. She persisted that because white skin is a recessive genetic trait, the existence of black people, particularly black males, threatens the genetic survival of the white race. In this framework, the black male becomes a symbol of power and a potential disruptor of the white supremacist order. To mitigate this perceived threat, the white supremacist system focuses on the systematic dehumanization, emasculation, and neutralization of black men.
And I say that the system of oppression as far as black people in this area of the world are concerned, after we were broken up, husbands from wives and children from parents in Africa and brought over here, and were continually being split up and split apart, that we were turned into what I call individual units of functioning. In other words, we could not come together in a meaningful way to sustain life and to sustain development. That we were broken down into individual units that survived because the slave masters said, well, they wanted us to survive because of some function they wanted us to carry out for them. In 1863, they came along and said, well, now you are emancipated, but that did not mean that there was going to be elimination of the system of white supremacy domination. And so emancipation came along, and I said what resulted from that Emancipation Proclamation and the unleashing us off of the plantations was a new stage in the development of grouping together, still under the conditions of oppression. And I call that grouping together survival units, not families. We call them families. But I say now that those were merely survival units that the slave masters permitted us and the oppressors have permitted us to have, because we were not going to be permitted to maximally develop. We were only going to be permitted to survive for their continuing use, or simply so that they can look at us and see our inferiorized functioning and step back and say, look at you. You may have color, but you're inferiorized, and I have superiorized my functioning relative to you. And I maintain that we are still in the condition of survival units. We are in the condition of survival units because those were units, still units where the oppressor said, now my main thrust is going to be to cripple the functioning of the men. I am going to cripple the functioning of the men because men are absolutely essential. The maximal functioning of men is absolutely essential to turn the oppressive condition around and to successfully challenge it. I don't have to worry about the women. They can be as strong as is necessary, but I'm going to cripple the men because a people whose men have been crippled will forever be oppressed. And I maintain that that is what happened to us, and the main tactic and strategy that was used was to instill fear into black men of the white man. And that fear is something that we are still unable to talk about. And I say we have to begin talking about it if we are going to move to the next stage of development. That fear of lynching and that fear of physical castration is present among us as a continuing epidemic. It is not a put down of black men to recognize that it is there. It is simply understanding what white supremacy oppression was really all about, is all about, and the tactics and strategies that it has used to achieve its establishment and that it continues to use to achieve its maintenance. That fear of loss of life and loss of body parts and mutilation of body parts is the main strategy and tactic that has been used, and behind that came the thrust: I am not going to allow the black male to be a breadwinner and function for his family and function as a protector for his family, himself, his children, to function in the capacity that the white man functions in. The black woman, you can do whatever you think you want to do, more or less. But I am going to cripple the men, and I'm going to cripple all of the male offspring. And I say that successful challenge to the process of oppression will never come about as long as that fear is intact. It will never come about as long as that fear is intact. And I say that the progressive effeminization of the black male is a direct byproduct of the goal objective that the racist oppressors had in mind. In other words, whether they decided consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter, that the way that I will control the man that I fear most is to turn him into a woman, to make him think of himself as a woman compared to me. And again, he will never challenge me. And he set the stage for that kind of process by, in all too many instances, making the black female the pseudo-dominant one in the family situation. It wasn't the black female saying, well, this is a role that I want to play. But if the man is going to be crippled, somebody has to be the breadwinner. So the white man said, you get out there and you be breadwinner. And you try to socialize the children at the same time. And because that was a very disruptive kind of arrangement, it made for a number of problems developing between the black male and the black female that led to massive and epidemic patterns of separation and divorce and all the rest of it that we all know about. And once the stage was set where you develop patterns, or patterns are imposed on a people, where female domination occurs in the home and alienation of females from males, then you can produce patterns of effeminized and passive and homosexual behavior on the part of men. Now please understand, don't take it as any kind of put down. We are trying to, as scientifically as possible, assess the facts so that we can program successful, effective, and efficient counter-struggle. And I say that this is what has happened, and that if we are going to struggle successfully against our oppression, we have to struggle specifically against that major thrust. We have to struggle specifically against the effeminization of men. We have to struggle specifically against forcing women into roles of breadwinners and children going unsocialized. Now, the people who are present here in the audience may say, well, this doesn't affect me. But what we have to keep our eye on, the people sitting in this audience are exceptions to the black rule. We have to keep our eye on the condition of the masses of our people, because the masses of our people are the people who will wage the effective struggle. And I'm not talking about any class breakdown. I'm simply talking about the condition of the numbers, the condition of the mass majority. And black women have been forced out of roles of socializing their children and spending sufficient time with their children so that they can impart behaviors that will eventually mean personality strength and character strength and discipline, so that one can endure the pressures that oppression brings about. And I say that there must be a struggle on the part of our people, a struggle for men to say they are going to be the primary and fundamental breadwinners for their family, or else somebody is going to hear about it.
Welsing's analysis extends to the structure of the black family, which she viewed as a critical site of white supremacist intervention. She contended that black families were purposely broken up to weaken the family unit, thereby making black women and children more vulnerable to exploitation and control. The forced separation of black men from their families, particularly during slavery and continuing through systematic economic and political policies, serves to undermine the black family structure. A key component of Welsing's theory is the idea that black men are intentionally effeminized as a means of psychological warfare. This process of effeminization, according to Welson, is designed to emasculate black men, rendering them less likely to assert their power and challenge the white supremacist order. Through various cultural, social, and economic pressures, black men are portrayed as weak, passive, and incapable of fulfilling traditional masculine roles. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's analysis of white supremacy offers a powerful critique of the systematic forces aimed at neutralizing black male power. Her work highlights how white supremacists target black men through strategies of dehumanization, family disruption, and effeminization. By understanding these dynamics, Welsing sought to empower black communities to resist and dismantle the structures of white supremacy. Her ideas continue to resonate, offering a lens through which to examine the ongoing racial justice and equality struggles. Key points from this section of Dr. Welsing's lecture. The first point is that the system of white supremacy controls our behavior in every area of human activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. She believes that white supremacy has done a great job in not only just controlling, but gaining control a long time ago, and then continuing to maintain control over the psyche and the minds and the behaviors of its subjects, which are black people in America, which were Africans and still are Africans on the continent, and Africans throughout the diaspora, but specifically black people here in America. She also goes on to remind us that we will remain oppressible, powerless, and oppressed until we change our behavior. Until we recognize, realize, understand, and take action to change what has happened to us, we will remain in an oppressed state. We will continue to be on the bottom. White supremacy will maintain its status quo. In order to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice, we must understand what has happened to us and seek vigorously and aggressively to change what has happened to us mentally. Dr. Welson is also hammering home how important family is, specifically black family for black liberation. In the last video, her framework for family was, family is a unit with a fundamental function within a society as a unit of organization to develop their young and adults to the maximum capacity. So it is important that we build family, that we maintain family, that we make family something that is important to us, that family is not something that's on the back burner, that we don't continue existing how we're existing as individuals. Well, we're actually going right into that because she's talking about our lack of family. There's an abundance of survival units, but lack of family. She even goes further to break that down to say that we don't have families where individual units are functioning. We are individuals looking to survive. And sometimes that individual, these individuals hook up and recreate each other and have babies, right? But they're still in the individual mindset, the survival mindset. That's why there's an abundance of families within Black America right now, because there's an abundance of mindsets of individualistic nature, or mindsets within an individualistic nature that is saying me, I, and not we and us, because they're trying to survive. And oh, we got a baby, so I really got to survive. So she also goes on to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation being enacted in 1863, that, black people were emancipated, but white supremacy still existed, and white supremacy still exists today. So that emancipation was symbolic. And we know it was more of an economic things to keep the United States together. But all in all, what she's hitting at is the system of white supremacy was not derailed because of the Emancipation Proclamation. Therefore, the black family and the black man were still targets of white supremacy, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was still signed. So she also talks about she talks about the origin of survival units, right? The origins of the individual units, right? And she goes back to slavery because she talks about how families were crafted by slave masters for our survival as slaves, not as families. So, they had the breeding farms, and they would force the male, the buck, to mate with the woman and to have a big, strong baby so they can sell the baby or use the baby for labor. But units or black families were not crafted the way they were supposed to be crafted. Black families didn't have the structure that they were supposed to have. So that's why the ideas and the behaviors, like she goes back to how white supremacy controls our behaviors, that control that area of sex. So now they've crafted the way we reproduce with each other. They've crafted the way we have sex with each other. They've crafted the way we relate to each other. They've crafted the way we see each other. They've crafted the way we love each other. They've crafted it in such a way that it's dysfunctional and dehumanizing in a sense. In some instances, it could be. But we know it's dysfunctional. We know it doesn't work. So she also goes on to talk about how survival units keep white supremacy superior, and they help to cripple the black man. The black man does not have his place that he's supposed to have. The black man is not the head of the house. The black man is not a threat to white supremacy. The black man is the target of white supremacy, because ultimately, yes, white supremacy fears the might and the power of a black man who is in power. But therefore, they're going to keep the foot on the gas and the foot on our necks to make sure that the black man is in a subservient place, so he is not a threat to white supremacy. But we must keep these families apart. And that's a great way to keep the black man in his place, is to keep these families apart. Because, hey, a good woman and a good family could empower a black man. So with that being said, that's underscoring how black men are essential. Black men are essential to challenging white supremacy and ending white supremacy. White supremacists see black men as the greatest threat, whether it's genetic or even physical. So we know that they have to work overtime to keep the black man in his place. So they go forward to make sure that they program the black man to not function as a man, function as a male, but not a man. The black male cannot function as a man. The black male cannot become a man. The black male must not become a man. So the black male must always, always, always exist as a boy. And he can exist as a girl if he wants to. That goes into the feminization of the black man. The black man needs to be feminized. That's another component of the control and the maintenance of white supremacy, is the feminization of the black male. If the black male is effeminized, the black male will not challenge white supremacy. The black male will be in this place trying to cower and save itself and be on the individual mind state and live in fear, and will never look at himself as a powerful entity to challenge white supremacy. And that will make the black woman and the black child vulnerable. So in that, we can control the black woman and the black child. So we will program the black woman to become the dominant person within the structure of the society and structure within the family. And we know it's not a real society. Black people don't have real neighborhoods or real communities. So the units of survival that black people exist in, we will make the black woman the dominant one. We will make sure that she looks at the black man as a failure. We will make sure that she does not respect the black man. We will make sure that the black man does not have a place of reverence in the black woman's heart. The black man should become and will become the enemy of the black woman. We will convince her that the black man is her enemy. So female domination leads to male alienation, which leads to male effeminization. Say that again. Female domination leads to male alienation, which leads to male effeminization. We don't need our men, and the men are trying to do whatever they can to survive. Those men who succumb to the feminization, doing whatever they can to survive. So she concludes on reminding us how it is important to build up and protect black men. The community should go into overtime working to build up and protect black men, because black men are going to be the ones to really keep the community safe, to help build the community, to help maintain the community. Of course, black men cannot do it without black women, but black men are the first and last line of defense against white supremacy and the main force against white supremacy. So if the black community is ever going to get their stuff together to be able to rightfully challenge white supremacy the way it's supposed to, then black men have to be in the lead. Black men have to be in a great place. Black men have to be at the head of the family. Black families have to exist. Black women and black men have to be in unison, and black men have to be empowered to be powerful and to challenge white supremacy. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this information. We're going to keep it going. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she comes with the heat. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Let's run these likes up. Let's run these views up. I love y'all, and I'll catch y'all on the next video.